Hello and welcome to another edition of the Elsanka Super Show on Amaze TV. My name is Mohammed Dabo and I'm your host. On the show tonight, we meet a gentleman who you could say has been there and done it all. You could call him an outstanding sportsman. You'd be right, because he has represented his country in the Olympics and a number of other sporting events. You could call him a classroom practitioner. You will be right, as he has been a teacher for many years and is currently a head of department in a leading independent school. You can also describe him as a politician. There again, you'll be absolutely right, because he's a politician of national and international standing, a man who has met a huge number of high-profile international politicians. Yes, you may have guessed who my guest is today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Columba Blanco. Thank you, Mr. Blanco, for accepting my invitation to appear on the Elsanka Super Show on Amaze TV. I noticed that you're a very busy man, and reading your profile, I have noticed that you are a classroom practitioner, you're a politician, you're a sportsman, you're also a sports enthusiast, the list goes on. And I just am amazed to find out really how you fit all this into this kind of schedule and then also have time for your family.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And talking about time, yeah, you've often heard politicians say they're giving up politics to find quality time, to find enough time with their family. Yeah, all you need to do is to program yourself, plan yourself well. You will definitely not have enough time for your family, but the little time you have, it should be quality time. And that is what I managed to do.
Oh, thank you very much for letting me know that. Now, the first thing perhaps that I want to find out, let's start from the beginning, and that is your teenage years, when you were an outstanding sportsman, an outstanding sportsman in Sierra Leone. And in your teenage years, you represented Sierra Leone in a number of sporting activities and events which were high profile, one of them being the Olympics. Would you like to tell us a bit more about that?
Yes. Those were very interesting days in my life. I was still in school. In Sierra Leone, the setup is once you are in school, you are an outstanding sportsman. The chances of you going through your academic career is very, very difficult. You really have to be very smart to be able to combine both. You should be a smart student because not much encouragement. If you are dedicated to sports and really doing it at that level, you have to spend a lot of time practicing, training, and competing. At the same time, you have to attend school. So if you are not smart, you will not make it, which is why unfortunately, a lot of our talented sportsmen and women don't make it academically because the facilities are not there and the academic situation set up in Sierra Leone does not cater for that. So we lose people, and it is very unfortunate that it is like that, but you really have to be very smart. It is not easy after training, especially when you're in the boarding home, because you have time to play, time to study, time to eat, everything is regimental. And sometimes you're so tired, you can't concentrate properly, but if you are smart, then you go through your academic life.
If I can concentrate a bit on your Olympics participation, I'd like to find out the events that you participated in, and also the people, some of them high profile, I know, whom you competed against.
Yeah, people like Daley Thompson. Well, Daley Thompson was my idol. In fact, I used this pole at the Moscow Olympics. I did the decathlon. Decathlon comprises 10 different events: throwing, jumping, and sprint. And a long distance or middle distance is the 1500 meters. covered within 2 days. Each day you do five events. It's very tough. You must be very tough to be able to go through the decathlon in 2 days, 10 events in 2 days. Yeah, well, it's very exciting. It's very challenging. And you have to be highly motivated to really take that challenge. And of course, Daley Thompson, who was a world champion, was a motivational factor. I also happened to meet other great athletes, people like Sebastian Coe, Steve Ovett, Alan Wells, great Cubans like Alberto Juan Torino, and the legend boxer Teofilo Stevenson. So going to the Olympics exposes you to a lot of things, positive things. You meet a lot of great people, and it adds to your to that personal aspiration for you to achieve greater things.
Right. And if you at this time were to be a sportsman in this part of the world, would it mean that you would not want to take part in academic activities as you are now? And well, let's say you wouldn't have gone into politics if you were a man of sports in here, in this country.
I believe I'll have achieved more if I had grown up in this part of the world, because you have great athletes. The system here caters for your academic performance and also caters for your sporting performance. We have great people like Sebastian Coe. He was a great athlete. He became to be an MP. And we have people like Jeffrey Archer. Jeffrey Archer was a sprinter and he became a great politician. You have people like Mavis Campbell from the Liberal Democrats. They were all great athletes. I mean, because sports helped academia. If you're in this part of the world, you are in a system where your sporting ability really boosts up your academic performance. It is structured that way, unlike Sierra Leone. So if I had been in this country, if I had grown up in this country, I think I'll have maybe been a world champion, because I'll have been exposed to advanced training. I'll have been a world champion at the same time succeeding in academia.
Okay, what other sporting events did you represent Sierra Leone in? Can you let us know that?
Well, I first represented Sierra Leone in the regional sports between Sierra Leone and Liberia and Gambia and the Gambia. And later I represented Sierra Leone in the first West African Games in Nigeria. And then I only did about 4 events. I did the high jump, the long jump, the hurdles, and I was in the 4x4 relay team and 4x100 relay team. So I started very early on doing multi-events. And later on, before the Olympics, I was still at school. I changed over to the decathlon, doing the javelin, doing the shot put, doing the discus, the hurdles. Well, hurdles was my specialist area anyway. And in the 1500, the 400, and all these sort of things. I just loved it. I love the challenge.
A very versatile sportsman you are. But what I think I remember is the fact that most people admired you for the hurdles, and nobody I know, when you ever competed in the hurdles, and nobody ever came near you. Yeah, you were always far and above everyone.
Hurdles was my best event, and I really committed myself to it. And I used to watch special videos, special films on how you do the hurdles. So I learned from that. And I remember going on holiday. I would take about 3 or 4 hurdles with me on holiday, and I would go to our local field to practice the hurdles. So I was there. I really enjoyed it. It was a sort of event I enjoyed.
Okay, that being that.
But again, when you meet different people, it depends on what you've seen me do. Somebody will tell you I was a great high jumper because that is what he or she saw me doing. Some people will say I was a great hurdler. Some people will say I was a great sprinter. Some will say I was a great long jumper. It depends on what you actually saw me doing. Those who saw me doing everything relate decathlon to, associate me with decathlon. Otherwise, you only associate me with the event you saw me doing.
Okay, now you have been very prolific in your sporting exploits, which is really good. What would you say to our children today they could do in order to improve their achievement in sports?
Well, first of all, there is a big misconception about sports, which I want to try very hard to correct. As a councillor, when I was on Solo Council, I was a cabinet member responsible for sports. First of all, I identified that participation was low in sports, especially between the ages of 18 and 25. A lot of boys and girls do sports once they're in school because it's compulsory. But when they finish school at the age of 18, the participation goes down. So I made sure I brought up, I devised what they call pseudo community games to increase participation in sports. But again, it's not only participation in sports, it's the values of sports. That is what is lacking. That is the sort of my emphasis, the values of sports. A lot of people do sports, but they do not consider that sports builds character. And sports gives self-confidence, taking part in sports. And it gives you yourself, it builds your self-esteem. And taking part in sports helps your communication skills. And it also helps your relationship with other people. So it builds that sort of relationship with people because, and it builds your skills around teamwork. So these are the values of sports people should try to understand first. And these are the sort of things I want to, if I have the opportunity to go to Sierra Leone and make sure we increase participation in sports, because of health reasons, and also in discipline. Sports make you very disciplined. People in Sierra Leone need to understand the values of sports and the good side of sport in terms of participation, in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of character building, in terms of teamwork and the communication. We got to bring all these things in, and that helps you develop your overall sort of mental and physical performance for an individual.
Would you also bring in the added attraction in sports, that is valuing it for the money aspect of it? Because in Sierra Leone, my idea is that it's not very well paid, and therefore the participation is low as a result of that. In this country, for example, it is very, very highly valued, and valued also in financial terms. Is it one thing that you're thinking of as well?
Yes, that would be the end result. But where we start, and that is my aspiration, that is my dream, to use sport as an instrument or as a tool or as a vehicle to transform communities. Sierra Leone needs that at the moment, especially targeting young people. How young people you could use sport to transform the lives of young people, to become role models, to become more disciplined, to prepare themselves physically and mentally for all other challenges in life. And you also use sports to transform communities in the sense that participating in sports in little communities, it will bring that community together. Sports bring people together. Sports is more powerful than politics. Politics divides people. Sport brings people together. I give you an analogy. Take 24 people, 2 teams, right? 2 football teams. 11 aside. They all speak 24 different languages. You throw a football on the pitch, they all know what to do with it without even understanding their own different languages. They know exactly. That is what sport does. It builds teamwork. It gives you the sense of awareness of other people. It gives you the sense of community. And it gives you the sense of problem solving. So those are the values I want to, I would want to see actually instilled in our communities in Sierra Leone, to use sport as that valuable vehicle to transform communities and to transform young people, making them better citizens, making them more disciplined, giving them all these positive qualities that people don't even consider when doing sports. People think you just go out there, you run, you jump, you play football, and that's the end of it. And if there are any sort of mishaps, you see them fighting or quarreling. No, sports is supposed to teach you to avoid all those sort of things. You should be more disciplined, which is why in this country, sports people are considered to be role models. They get plenty of money, and they get a high profile publicity. And a lot of young people follow them. So young people, they become role models in communities and societies, and young people take after them as role models. So if we introduce that sort of system in Sierra Leone, you will see our communities transforming. You will see our young people transforming. And these young people will become role models in their communities, and those coming after them will take after what they do as good citizens, as responsible citizens. So that is what sport does for you.
And that's very good evidence to demonstrate really that sports is very valuable in many, many ways. Yeah. And I am actually sure that if that is implemented, your ideas are actually implemented, I'm sure there will be a
that
very
is my dream,
important
really.
improvement.
That is my dream, to use sports as a vehicle, as a tool to transform communities and transform young people. That can be done. I am looking for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you very much. Now we will go to our first musical interlude, and we are going to ask a great musician, a very popular one, who's made a very popular piece of music, and that will be our first musical interlude for today, and it's Vanity by Akman.
Shake body, lose body, forget your trouble, dance for me. Make you no cry, jolly, jolly. Waiting God say go be, surely go be. So why worry? Baby, no worry. Take am easy, suffer, suffer. Life no I have This life, eh. When you yakba sotena vanity, when you tawa sotena vanity, say the money you get na vanity, vanity, eh, vanity. Ose moto kana vanity. Why you they kill you company for vanity? Why you want get the old one for vanity?
Welcome back to the Elsanka Super Show on Amaze TV. As you may well know, my guest today is Mr. Columba Blango, a man who has served in many capacities in both this country and his own native Sierra Leone. And before we broke up, you heard him talk about his passion for sports and how to build communities through sports. Now, I want to turn to your political career.
Right.
You've had a very successful career, I should say, relatively, in this country.
I think that as a compliment.
Thank you. Having been one of the first Liberal Democrats members to be elected into the Southern Council.
Yeah.
And what actually motivated you to come into politics?
Well, the time we grew up in Sierra Leone, in the up to in the 70s to early 80s, we all had our student revolutionary ideas. I was not very active in politics, but I was very aware of the political systems, and we saw a lot of injustice. What motivated me to enter politics, basically, is to fight injustice, yeah, and to serve, because I grew up to see a lot of injustices back in Sierra Leone. So when I came to this country, I finished my studies in Ukraine, in Kiev. I came to this country actually in 1991. I was very much interested in what was happening in my community. We normally have community meetings around Sudok. Every community have their own community meetings. So I attended a few meetings and I became interested. And these meetings are really to discuss issues about your communities, how you can help change things in your community. I lived in Rotherhithe, and councillors and politicians attend these meetings. So my participation in these meetings, I noticed that just going to these meetings, talking about what should be done, how it should be done, was not enough for me. I had to be in the position to help to do it. So I thought about perhaps where I could start is being a councillor. I joined the Liberal Democrat. I joined, and after 5 years, I became a councillor. I put my name forward, and I became a councillor in 1998. So that is where it all started.
Through an election?
Through an election, yeah. Through an election, local council election.
Right. I noticed that the pinnacle of your political career so far has been your election as a mayor of Sudok. Now, you must have met many, many high-profile politicians during that time. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you enjoyed it?
Yeah, well, as mayor, you are the first citizen of that borough, and you represent the Queen. And you actually, the position of the mayor is like the position of the Speaker in the Houses of Parliament. You conduct meetings and you are the first citizen. During my time as mayor, I met a lot of very important people. I met almost all of the royal family. I met with Prince Charles 3 times, and interestingly, the 3rd time we met, and he told me, "You must be very brave." I said, "Why?" "Meeting me 3 times in a year." I said, "Well, that's my job." And yes, I met President Putin, where President Putin made an official visit to the UK. And we have the Russian memorial in Sudok. So President Putin was coming to visit, was coming to Sudok to lay rift in the Russian memorials around Kennington. So the Queen could not come. So mayor of Sudok, first city of mayor of Sudok, I had to receive President Putin officially. And it was a very interesting scenario.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of that. What kind of a man would you say President Putin is?
Well, it's a small man compared to my size. It was so interesting. He spoke English to me. I spoke Russian to him because I speak Russian. And he was shocked. He said, because the protocol was, I was to meet Putin, welcome him when he comes out of his car, and then I was to introduce him to all the Queen's delegates and to all the other delegates. That was the protocol. But I started speaking of Russian with him, and everybody got confused. Nobody understood what we were saying. I just walked off with him. At the end of the day, somebody came to me. He said, "Do you know what you've done?" One of the people from Buckingham Palace. He said, "You have just destroyed the whole protocol issue." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you went on speaking Russian, President Putin. No one knew what you were doing. People had to do other things, so they just let you get on with it." But it was interesting, and I got a letter of commendation from Buckingham Palace for a job well done anyway. And Desmond Tutu, every important person that comes into this borough, as a mayor, you meet those people. Military officers from Brazil, from Argentina, and yeah.
Did you use the opportunity as a mayor and as a councillor to improve your community in any way at all?
Yeah, each mayor has got, you are expected to choose a charity. So my charity was youth and sport. And then I established the Sudok Community Games. The Sudok Community Games was a kind of Olympics type of activities. We identified 7 different types of sports which should be taking place, competitions in those 7 sports should be taking place right throughout the year. From young people from the age of 6 to 16. So SODOC Community Games, what advantage it had was we had more participation of sports from young people. And SODOC Council or SODOC Borough went on to win the national championship in volleyball, basketball, and athletics, because all of these sports were included in the SODOC Community Games. And young people, school-going kids in SODOC took part in those sports as a sort of community sports competition right through the year. So that was basically what I did. And that program is still going on. It was designed to encourage young people to participate in sports, and it was also designed that through their participation, they will become more disciplined, to improve their academic performance, it will improve their health as well. So just the sort of things I've been talking about. And it is along this line I want to establish this sports program in Sierra Leone, through which we can build our communities and engage young people in a positive way and build them to be role models.
Staying with politics, Mr. Blanco, I just noticed that the Liberal Democrat Party was confident enough in you to put you up as a candidate in one of the elections, I think it's 2 or 3 elections ago, against no less a person than Harriet Harman in the Peckham constituency. How did you find that?
That was a highlight for me in my politics. It was a watershed for me in my politics. But before that, I had stood for Parliament in 2005. And that was my second time, 2010. I mean, in 2005, and that in Lewisham, Deptford. That was my first time I stood for Parliament. And the second time was against Harriet Harman. We had a lot of hope. There were chances, and I did reduce her majority. Harriet Harman was a deputy prime minister then, very high profile, and she has been representing Camberwell and Peckham for about 19 years. So she had the infrastructure, she had the tool, the campaign infrastructure, and she had the tool. Well, yes, I gave her a run for her money. The Liberal Democrats were confident I could, well, not necessarily win, but I could build up a constituency in Camberwell and Peckham. And that was the target, really. And we achieved the target. I got over 12,000 votes. And in other constituencies in the country, 12,000 votes would take you into Parliament.
Right, well done.
Yeah,
well,
so
I have to say congratulations for
votes,
that.
yeah.
At least you achieved what you were hoping
The target
for.
was to build a constituency for future elections, because it was a tall order, but yeah, I gave Harriet Harman
Are you hoping
a run for her money.
Are you hoping for another opportunity like that?
No, I have lost the fire in my belly for that.
Okay. So in other words, you retired from politics?
No, I'm not
virtually.
retired from politics. I'm retired from frontline British politics.
Okay, all right.
I want to do other things.
Okay, thank you very much for
I'm
that.
still active in the community for the Liberal Democrats, but I want to do other things.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll now go to our next musical interlude. And this time, the music we're going to play is Rush Us by Dallas Banton.
One thump on the mix. No joke, man, tell you this. Turn on. Hardwave Records. Fine, bubble them like we. Now then they rush us. All them slay, mama slay queens. Now then they rush us. Fine, bubble them like we. Now then they rush us. All them slay, mama slay queens. Now then they rush us. We wander with the jeep and the sports car. Now then they rush us. We they eat chicken inside keke. They still they rush us. Fine, bubble them like we. Now then they rush us. All them slay, mama slay queens. Now then they rush us. Fine, fine, mama, them slay queens.
Welcome back. This is the Elsanka Super Show, and my guest today is Mr. Colomba Blanco. I know you're a jack of all trades, almost maybe in everything you've done, master of all. If you were to choose just one career in life that you would like to stay with, which occupation would that be?
I would choose politics. The reason, if you go into politics to change people's lives, if you go into politics with a strong passion for social justice, then you'll be able to cover every area to help people in every area. Because the only reason why anyone will go into politics is to serve. And to serve in the best possible way, you have to have a strong conviction for social justice. And when you talk about social justice, you provide for people what they require, what they need, be it education, be it healthcare, anything. Politics, for the right reasons, if you are there for the right reasons, it gives you the opportunity to change people's lives. It gives you the opportunity to address ills in society. It gives you the opportunity to create that social mobility opportunities for other people. I think, which is why I would choose politics, because it will give me that ability to do those sort of things. I am very passionate about social mobility, and I'm very passionate about creating a free, fair, and just society. I'm very passionate about addressing social justice.
Now, one of the things we do on this program is to reach out to people who we consider as unsung heroes. Right. There are people out there who do magnificent things for our community, but they are never recognized or celebrated at all. Right. Do you have in mind anybody who falls within that category that you would like to mention here, whom we can celebrate?
Well, there are a lot of people I know, but the idea is when you start calling names, you forget somebody else's name, this sort of thing. So, yeah, there are a lot of people who deserve really being invited to explain their experiences, other people will learn from. There are a lot of people in the community in Sudok. You know, Sudok is a home for majority of Sierra Leoneans living in the UK. While I was a cabinet member responsible for equalities and communities in Sudok, which is about 7-8 years ago, we did a survey and we noticed that we found out that there are over between 15 and 20,000 Sierra Leoneans living in Sudok alone. So we have a huge number of Sierra Leoneans who are involved, in Sudok, but significant number of them are involved in community work, are involved in voluntary work. So yeah, at some point, if you want their names, I will give them to you.
Oh, that's a good idea. But I think what we'll do now, we'll dedicate a record to them. Now, you haven't mentioned any names, so that's not much of a problem. But everybody that seems to come under the category of the people that Colomba Blanco is mentioning here, I would really like to dedicate this piece of music to you. It's a beautiful one.
So there are other Sierra Leoneans outside of Sudok, in other places of London, and even outside of London, who are doing great job for their communities. Yeah.
Thank you very much. To all of you, this music has been dedicated, and it's a music by the late Bonnie Mac, and it's Let Me Love You.
You're my
Right, Mr. Blanco, we're coming to the end of the program.
Yeah.
Very, very close to the end now. If you were to pick out one particular moment in all your career so far, which stands out and which really is a life-changing moment, which you've enjoyed so much, what can that really be?
Well, I'll put that to different times in my life. In my schooling days and my teenage years, I would choose sports. Because sports actually expose me. Sports build my character to be resilient, to be positively competitive, and it made me a disciplined person. It made me healthy. It also gave me the skills to communicate, and it also gave me the skills to interact properly with people. So that was the start of I got all those characteristics through sports. So I'm very thankful I did sports at that time in my life. It made me very resilient and very competitive. And after that, in my university days, I was very much a student activist. Very much involved in student politics. That was another era. And coming back to this country, when I came to this country in 1992, I got involved in politics. And so each period has got a highlight. And the highlight in politics in this country is not only becoming mayor, but also I went on to become the only black person in the cabinet. I was a cabinet member in Sodo Council for about 6 years, responsible for various things: communities, equalities, sports, education. So I was controlling about 5 portfolio areas: tourism. So I have a vast interest in vast experience in all of those areas. And I was also able to help various Sierra Leonean communities in various things. That gave me the opportunity to meet a lot of people I would never have met in my life, especially when I was mayor. It made me understand the British system, political and social system, in a way I would never have experienced if I was not at that level of politics, because nothing will have taken me to that level. And also that, finally, that led me to receive an award to become a Freeman of the City of London. So that, I think, is one of the highest awards anyone could get.
Yeah, congratulations.
To become a Freeman, receive an official award to be a Freeman of the City of London, of the City of London.
Well, there is no doubt that you have been a very successful man. And one of the things we do on this program, the Elsanka Super Show, is actually to get our guests to look at this camera, which is your camera there.
Yeah.
And then this is a family program. There might be people sitting there with their families.
Yeah.
And I want you to speak to them and encourage them, motivate them to be perhaps as successful as you are, or perhaps even more successful. You like to talk to them through that camera there?
I would talk to the community, especially young people. I'm interested in motivating young people. I'm interested in transforming young people. I mean, with young people, always be positive. And always dream. Dream big. And always work towards a dream. Never think you will fail. And where you fail, wake up in the morning and think about what made you fail, and then work out a different strategy. But never give up your dreams. Dreams will always come true when you work towards them. And also, in politics, I set my dream. I had a passion to fight injustice. And I thought the best way to fight injustice is to go into politics. And I also had a passion for young people. I became a mayor, I became a councillor, I became a cabinet member responsible for sports and so that I addressed that issue. And in Sierra Leone as well, while I was mayor, I never forgot my country, Sierra Leone. What I did then I made sure I established twinning partnership between Koidu City Council and Sodok Council. I established that twinning partnership. And I also established friendship relationship between Sodok youth and the youth of Freetown. At some point, I invited the Swazi boys to come for some training here in Sodok. We gave them 3 weeks of training, entrepreneurship and leadership training and all those sort of things. And when I established the twinning between Sodok and Koidu Town Council, my office invited the mayor of Koidu Town Council and the speaker and the chair of Koidu Town Council. They all came here for another 3 weeks training on local government, how to run a local council. So I did all of that. And also what I did for Sierra Leone is my office invited the late mayor of Bo, late
Hansels?
Mrs. Hansels, Mrs. Nicholas.
Okay.
Mrs. Nicholas, yeah. She was here with her team for 4 weeks. They had a 4-week training how to run a council like Bo, because Bo is a big city. So these are all the little things I did for my country, but hoping that whatever the youth, the mayors got from here, they'll be able to implement in Sierra Leone. But Sierra Leone is a different ballgame altogether. But I did my little bit for my country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blanco. Well, you have it there from somebody who has been very successful in their career. Now, the message is, you've got the ambition. If you have that ambition, remain focused. You've got to have a dream. Pursue that dream with a lot of passion and a lot of perseverance. Never give up, Mr. Blanco says, and you will be as successful as any man on earth.
Even more successful.
Even perhaps more successful.
Yeah.
If you're focused, you persevere, and you have an ambition for which you're really very passionate. Well, now we'll come to the end of the program. Another program this week. My name is Mohammed Dabo, and this is the Elsanka Super Show. And this is Friday, and I want to wish you a very, very formidable weekend. Thank you very much. Goodbye from my guests. Can you say goodbye to them?
Thank you very much, everybody watching. Be focused. Big dreams. Follow your dreams. Persevere as much as possible and be resilient. You will fail sometimes, but wake up in the morning and continue following your dream. You will be there. And be passionate about whatever you're doing.
So it's goodbye from me. Goodbye.
And goodbye, everybody.
Amaze TV is an online entertainment television platform which proudly